Hi there everyone, we've come out on a day trip. We've come to Settle on the Settle and Carlisle line, and we've come to DCCconcepts, and we've been invited up here by Richard Brighton of DCCconcepts, so really excited to come and see their showroom just here behind the station. And this video is in association with our sponsor Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories, designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts to be intuitive and reliable, that work just out of the box. Come on, let's go. So, first time I've ever been here.
Yes, so well.
Right, well, we've come inside into the DCCconcepts showroom, and I'm here with Richard Brighton. Really great to meet you, and thanks for the invite up here. And it is an amazing place you've got here. And so, one of the things I wanted to ask about is the background of DCCconcepts. How long has it been on the go?
It's been going on for quite a long time now. Started in Australia over a decade ago. A company set up by Richard Johnson over there, and started making small electrical components for model railways that weren't available elsewhere. That grew and grew until a point where more than 85% of what DCCconcepts Australia was selling was being sold to the UK.
Right.
So it made more sense to have our main base here in the UK. And what better place than Settle?
I know, yeah, you've shown us the station, and it's just amazing to see how much of the original fabric survives. So it must be a great location that you can work from here, but also I guess you get a lot of steam specials coming through.
It's really annoying in the summer when you've got 3 or 4 steam specials a week coming through. It's terrible. It just interrupts you all the time.
Oh.
Remember, this is a standard network rail station.
It actually just looks like it would have been OMS. See, that's lovely. So is there like a group that looks after the
there's the Friends of Settle and Carlisle. They look after all the stations on this line.
Right. So are all the stations on the line done to this kind of standard?
The large majority of them are like this, yes.
Right.
So you can see you've got the proper LMS running in boards. You've got the indication as you come on as to which trains go from where, as on the board on the other side of that fence.
Right, yeah.
These running in boards, if you look around the back, are the standard Northern Rail running in boards. But even all the information boards and everything else is period colour.
This is lovely.
They've just put the digital displays in. And we've got authority from Network Rail to paint those burgundy and cream as well, so they will
at least match in. Oh, that's nice. And things like the lamps, if they have to be brought back in.
No, they've stayed here.
So they are original.
They're original, and they've
situ.
been in situ. Yeah.
Right.
And if you pop down, that's the original waiting room, which is still used as a waiting room. It has a gas fire in there, and then you can see the original station doors. All the original metalwork.
This is lovely because there's so many stations you go to, and they're just boarded up or demolished and a little
modernised.
station.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, it's nice to come back to a station like this where everything's welcoming.
And you still have a manned ticket office with a ticket office window that you can purchase tickets from. So that's a really nice feature.
This is lovely. But we're going to be having a look around, and we're going to have a look at some of these great products, because DCCconcepts is more than just DCC. You've got a great range of products that are equally applicable for DC, DCC, or even scenic stuff as well.
There's tons and tons of stuff, and in the words of our CEO in one of the adverts he ran, which silly bugger called us DCCconcepts. So we sell an awful lot, whether it's just wiring, solder flux, or just, as you say, scenic elements, or if it is DCC stuff as well. I mean, that's our speciality, but only about 50% of our range is dedicated to DCC, and a lot of the stuff that we make for digital is also usable on analog as well.
Right, great stuff. Well, I'm really looking forward to getting a look around, so you lead the way.
We're currently working on the layout, so there's a few tools and things everywhere.
Right. This is amazing. When you come in, this I presume this is what, Ribblehead Fider?
This is a scale model of Ribblehead, yes.
That is.
So it has all arches, it has the curve, and we're just in the process of putting the back scene on.
The back scene's nice as well. That's just like an actual photograph.
That is a photographic back scene, yeah.
That is impressive. Where did you get that printed up? Because that is quite a huge printout. Really.
We had that commercially printed onto some canvas, which is what you're seeing there.
That actually works really
goes
well.
all the way round as well.
That actually works really, really well.
And then obviously the landscape up to the back scene.
Yeah.
Because it drops.
Oh, this is really impressive. It's obviously nice to have the space to do something like this. So is this going to be permanent in the shop?
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is permanent layout. The white string level is the approximate ground level.
Right, I'm
so it
with you.
just tells us where we need to landscape to.
Right. Oh, that's true.
We have got precise measurements for each pier as to the level of the ground.
Right.
We went up with a laser, just a laser measurer and stood underneath each pier, so we know exactly from the centre of each.
Wow, that is
what the ground level is. Yeah, we've got to get it right.
Yeah. Oh, I do like that.
And we've just moved the tunnel a little bit further this way. And we've moved Ribblehead Station around the corner at that end.
Yeah, I mean, railway modelling is always a bit
It's a mess. And we've had to turn the station around 180 degrees as well.
Yeah,
the station building will show on the inside. But
even
it
so,
will be recognisable as Ribblehead Station.
Yeah, even so. I mean, you've got a lot more space than I get. But this is as a centrepiece to the showroom. When you come in, seeing that's
right.
It really just like wow. So, is it you guys have built all this? Then,
yes, this is scratch built. Yes.
Right. Oh, that is amazing. I do like that. So how long does it take to actually just build the viaduct itself?
This was built in Australia before we came over to the UK, and it was on the layout in Australia. When that layout was dismantled to move everything to the UK, this was brought over. And it's on a wooden I-beam that you can see there that's resin bonded, so it can't move.
So that keeps everything really nice and rigid.
That's right.
Oh, that is lovely. That's lovely. I look forward to seeing this actually when it's done.
Yeah.
And how long do you reckon it's going to take you?
I would say give or take another year to actually get it complete. Right. There's a lot of scenic work to do, especially in this area.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then the hillside needs to come up to meet the scenery there and at the other end. So
brilliant.
There's a little bit of work to do, but that's part of the fun, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Just been explained to me this product, and it's actually a really interesting idea that I hadn't actually thought of until now. And what it is this takes your analog switches, so rather than having to control your points and signals through DCC, scrolling about trying to find the IDs for them, this allows you to keep using those analog switches. They plug in here, left, common and right on each of these, and it actually detects when you switch something like the Pico PL point motor switches. It detects that and then converts that for you to the DCC command to change your points. So your points can all be simply wired up through the DCC bus, but your control of it is still what you're used to with the analog switches. I just really like this idea because it addresses, I think, the main concern that a lot of people have with going full DCC on a layout with the point control. I really like that.
Sometimes you get a modeller, they don't want to or they haven't got the skill set to make their own control panels.
Yeah.
So they don't want to use this and they don't want to wire up their own switches and they don't want to wire up their LEDs and things like that. They just want to plug it in and it works.
Yes.
Okay? So this is superb. Okay, you've got little cobalt point motors around the layout, digital cobalt point motors. That's called a sniffer unit. Now this was originally developed to take your switches and put them into, as we said earlier, a Z21 or an ECOS system. But the side effect is it actually generates a low power accessory bus.
Right.
Now that means I can come along and I can have a ready-made control panel. This is Alpha Central. It's got 12 switches on there, and it's got normal and reverse for each of those 12 switches. I can just come along and I can plug that into there, like that. I can plug a small power supply in, and I can connect up to 100 point motors off there, just on the 2 wires. And I've just wired up my entire accessory bus, everything, with 2 wires and 1 power supply.
That's brilliant.
So what you end up with is something diagrammatically that looks like that.
So it really is as simple as that.
Dead easy. And then when it comes to pairing up a point motor with a switch, each of those point motors has got a little set switch on there. You just flick it into set, press the switch, put it into run, That switch is then paired with that point motor.
So basically, as easy as setting up a Bluetooth headset.
Exactly like setting
it with a phone.
Exactly right, yeah.
So we've just been shown this product here, and it's like a real-time readout of effectively the current draw of what you've got on the layout. And I know certainly it's a problem that I've had with my system, where if you put too many locos on, and even if you've got too many locos sat on the track, not even doing anything, but kind of on standby, sometimes you can get these strange intermittent faults creep in. But with something like this, you can actually monitor what's going on with your layout really easily in a visually easy to understand way.
So the sound doesn't sound quite right, the locomotives don't respond quite how they should. You get intermittent operation of locomotives, and that's a clue that you're using too much power.
Because one of the things I've noticed is that sometimes you'll just be sat there and you'll be doing something, and then a locomotive that was just sat happily doing nothing will suddenly shoot off.
Yeah.
And it's like, hold on, I've never selected that, but it started doing weird things. Or you'll get, I found some of the steam locos with sound in. The sound goes weird, it'll get stuck on a sound and won't let you change
The key one which will tell you exactly what's going wrong there is if you're running your steam locomotive and you notice it's not performing quite right, try blowing the whistle. That's the loudest sound it does. If the whistle is distorted, it's because generally you've got no power to do it.
Right.
You don't have enough power for that whistle. So there you need to be looking at increasing your power. That's where the booster would come in.
Right.
But that would tell you exactly how much power your layout's using.
And it just attaches into the track and gives you this real-time readout. And it works on DC as well as DCC as well.
Yeah, so that sort of goes hand in glove with the booster system as well, doesn't it? But the beauty of the booster system is, yes, you're restricting my amount, and yes, you're going to stop that strange behaviour, but you've also now added the possibility of putting accessory control in there as well.
Yes.
Rather than using your handset,
Yeah.
you can now use something like that. So I can select this point here and change it by doing that, which is a standard action.
Oh, right.
So these are digital motors in here. The only connection they have is the digital bus. There's no analog wiring. In fact, if I do that again, you can see that change. And I can prove that there's no wiring because the only connection between that control panel and the layout is one control wire and the track bus.
Right.
That's it. Now, normally you'd have a whole host of wires coming out of there.
Yeah, I mean, underneath mine, because I've got pure analog point control, it's like a huge sausage of wires.
Yeah. We've done that here actually. So this is an example of a typical control panel with 12 points on it using push button control.
Yeah.
And that's the wiring loom that you would typically expect.
That's it. And
so there's one wire for each of the points plus one common, which is the green wire.
And the trouble with that is, as soon as you get a fault somewhere, finding it,
tracing it is really difficult.
Yeah.
The same control panel with the AEU in, that's your output.
Yeah. And it's like no different than plugging your telephone into the wall.
Right. And then inside you can see each of those push buttons is just wired into.
And that's that unit that we saw earlier on as well.
Right, yes.
So you've basically got traditional panels so that everybody can understand, get their head around what's going on. Then you're using it to your advantage through the DCC on the actual layout side of things.
And let's go right back. Say for example you've got an existing control panel that's stud and probe. Really sort of basic technology that people have used for decades. So let's digitize that. Let's strip up all of that wire out. Let's get rid of the CDUs. Let's get rid of all of the additional power wiring and all the rest of it. And let's really simplify it. So here we have the same layout plan. We have stud and probe, so I can touch the points. But the only output again, look, it goes to that.
Right, so again, this is detecting those stud and probes making contact, just as they would detect the contact of the passenger switch. So again, no matter what way you control your layout conventionally, this system will integrate with that and allow you to, the actual user interface never changes.
It's just, the simplest way to explain it is as you did earlier on, it's just a way of changing a physical switch into a digital signal.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I know some people go, well, I have to keep this on DC because I want to shuttle.
So this locomotive, this is a Zen Black decoder in there, and this is the 21 pin in this one.
Yeah.
So that's turned on. We've enabled the shuttle mode by changing one of the CDs on that decoder. And then there's an ABC board underneath the track here. There's one here, which is connected to this section. And there's one underneath here. We've put this one on the surface so you can see it.
So what's actually physically under the track? Is it just like
Just that.
so? Is this board would be on the underside
That's
of the
right.
track?
And then that is connected to the track feed.
Right.
So the track feed is coming from the bus into there and then up to the track. So we're altering the electricity in this track here.
Right.
And that's what the decoder's picking up on.
Right.
That-
So do you have to actually isolate that section
Yes.
of the track and then you run it through?
Correct.
I'm with
Exactly
you.
right. Yes. Exactly right. So at the moment, this board is shorted out because I've turned that switch.
Right.
If I allow that board to operate normally,
Right.
local electrical cut. And unlike DCC shuttles, this doesn't just go and stop. This follows the normal acceleration and deceleration curve
Right.
of
Yes.
locomotive.
Yes. So you get it's like you're controlling it, but
That's
it's being
right.
done automatically.
Exactly right, yeah.
And so what?
That's going to wait 10 seconds there, but you can change that. You can have 10 seconds as the minimum. You can go all the way up to 40 minutes if you want in 10-second increments. And then it will come back.
And that's all just handled automatically off.
with the decoder and the ABC board. So the ABC board, you turn on the shuttle and connect it, and the decoder inside, you turn on the shuttle on the decoder and you say how long you want it to wait before you reverse.
Right.
And then you can have stop, reverse, and continue.
Right.
You can have stop and continue, like a mid-station stop, and then continue in the same direction.
So you could actually automate a whole layout using these, and you could, like say at an exhibition, you could have a layout set up that would run the different sequences. You could go off and look around the thing, and your layout's still doing what it needs to.
Absolutely. It's semi-automation. It's not
Yeah.
full automation of your layout, but it does give you some safeguards and the ability to shuttle.
And it means that you can concentrate on something else, and you'll have something like a DMU service shuttling up and down.
Yeah.
What if you don't set the CV in that? Will the regular trains just sort of power straight through like it's
Yes,
not
the
there?
regular trains won't see it. It's only the then black decoders that will actually react to it.
Right.
The other thing I can do is, for example, change this point here. So I've changed this point here. Now normally that DMU would come, it would foul on the frog and you get a short.
Yeah.
But because we've got the ABC board there, what will happen is
So
it
it
will slow
actually
down and
stops
stop,
and
and it will wait until that point is changed.
So it's almost you could get it to interlock with your signalling
Yes.
automatically because you have a signal which you would be interlocked with the point.
Correct.
And then with conjunction with this, you never get that problem where as soon as you turn your back, suddenly you hear this crunch and
That's right.
and you look back and the train's everywhere.
So if you want to change point number 7 there, then that loco will continue. If you just flip
So number
switch number 7 and just give it to put it on the lower track.
So the point changes and away it goes. I like that. That is really nice.
But it doesn't just start at the speed that you set it off at. It does start from 0 and accelerate.
So you've got the prototypical acceleration, deceleration curve.
You can also set it to slow, so you could have, for example, a distance signal, which automatically slows the train to a certain speed step.
Right.
So
I'm with
you can auto slow and auto stop.
So there's actually a
I could
lot
put a
more.
stop at the end of a siding so it doesn't hit the buffers, for example.
Yeah. Which would be great if you had something like, say, a terminal station.
Correct.
So they just come in and just coast to the buffers.
Well, you can have it come into the station throat, slow down to speed step 20, crawl into the platform and stop at the end before it gets to the buffers. And you could send that train in at any speed you like, but you know it's not going to hit the buffers at the end.
Brilliant.
So
it is so much more than the old style analog shuttle unit.
Oh, yeah.
So, it does all that does, but it adds so many more functions as well. I really like that.
And the Zen Black decoders have got other key features as well as the shuttle. One of those is one-step setup, where you can actually, a bit like a graphic equalizer on a stereo system, where you rock and pop and classic. What you can do is you say, this is a DMU, this is an express engine. You set one CV to one value, and it changes all of the others.
So it's almost like got some preset programs.
Yes.
So that rather than sitting there and go, well, I need to change this CV and I need to change this CV, it's automatically got like the best setup for that
type of logo. Exactly right. And then the other one is it's got the brown wrap protection in there, so it's got some capacitance actually built into the decoder. So if it goes over a little bit of dirt on the track, or you've got a bit of a dirty pickup, you still get smooth performance.
See, I think that's a great idea, having the capacitor on the board, because sometimes it can get quite fiddly. Adding the stay alive to an existing chip, not just having to solder it in, but quite often in the locomotive, it's then finding the space for these things. So if
I mean,
everything's just there on one
It
board,
won't do the party trick of running over a piece of paper
Yeah.
or going over a dead section of track. That's not what this is for. This is just gives you reliable
Yeah.
operation.
But you don't get that thing where it'll hit the minute piece of dirt and stop dead,
Yeah.
and then, especially with things like if you've got sound chips, that could be so annoying because it stops dead and it kills the sound, and it's like. So one of the questions that I was thinking about is, can you combine all these together? So, for example, you can have a layout that's fully automated, but actually changing the points as well. So, if you're seeing a slice of, say, a station, you could have two trains running ostensibly each way, but they would appear to go through the station on the correct road.
So you'd combine, for example, the ABC board and the Zen Black decoder there for the basic shuttle.
Yeah.
And you can do what we've done here and actually interlock a point with the ABC board so it stops a locomotive. But you can then add into that something like a magnetic sensor.
Right.
And you put a magnet underneath the locomotive, so when that locomotive hits the sensor, it triggers the point to change, which then releases the other locomotive. That locomotive gets back and triggers the point to change the other way, which releases the first one. So you could switch between two.
So in a way, you're using the locomotive as
Yes.
the trigger. For when we looked at that module,
Yes.
it's providing through this
Yes.
that trigger pulse to change the point.
Correct. Yes, you can do that. Yes.
That is great. And I suppose if you had like a very complex layout, that would be an amazing way of making sure that all the trains ran where they were supposed to go at the time, and you could kind of sit back and just enjoy this miniature world.
I mean, there's simple things like, for example, with these little magnetic sensors, how great would it be if you had a fiddle yard that when you started driving a train, all the points changed in front of it?
Yeah, because especially when you've got a huge fiddle yard, you can't quite, you're looking and seeing, well, which road is set for what.
Yeah.
That would take a lot of the aggro out of doing that. And you could, if you've got the fiddle yard at the back and the actual scenic section at the front, you can stay sat at the front of the layout, and you don't have to worry about the points at the back, because effectively they're just doing
You start driving at class 37, you'd hear it start up and start moving, but then you'd hear all the points change in front of it as it came out. So you can do things like that just using basic little sensors like that.
Yeah, but there's so much more that you can do with DCC that gives you operational potential that you could just never do on DC.
Yeah. I want to also get away from this two-camp mentality people have that you're either DC or DCC.
Yeah.
And we get people who will come up to our stand at the show and say, oh no, I'm not DCC, I don't understand any of this. And actually a good 50% of our range is tools, wire, switches, solder, flux.
Yeah.
These things are for anybody.
Yeah.
And DCC is a control method.
Yeah.
In the same way that DC is a control method.
Yeah.
And ultimately you just choose the right components for yourself.
Yeah.
The idea of someone being in one camp or the other, I think, is quite outdated.
Yeah.
And like yourself, you're in both.
Yeah.
You use the DCC for the locomotives and you use analog control methods for your accessories.
That's it.
And there's a lot of modelers out there who choose to do that. So no, we don't just do DCC.
Yeah, and actually we're showing some of the products before, things like the point rod.
Yes.
There's actually a lot of different other products that are away from the DCC. They're actually adding extra depth into the scenery side of things.
I mean, there's things like the point rodding, there's things like the ballast that we make as well.
Oh, so there's a full range of different shades and grades of ballast.
So you've got an N-gauge grey ballast there, which we've actually correctly scaled, unlike some of the other products that are out there where, for example, OO or HO modelers will look at using N-scale ballast on a OO layout because the OO ballast is too coarse. Yeah. So we've actually correctly measured that.
Yeah. Because that's always been the thing. It's almost like people always say, oh, if you're building an O-gauge layout, use OO ballast. If you're using OO, use N-gauge ballast.
Yes. So what do N-gauge modelers use?
Z-gauge ballast. I don't know.
No, this N-gauge ballast is correct, and the 4mm ballast is correct. And when you look at something like the brown blend, it isn't just brown.
Yeah, there's actually quite a complex variety of colours in there, which is just like the real world. When you look at the real world, things are very rarely a very neat, uniform finish.
Unless you're in Switzerland.
Well, they have people who go out in the night and clean all the ballast.
They're not allowed to have dirty ballast now.
Yeah, oh, that's brilliant.
So, and then the other thing which is very, very popular, but not a lot of people know about, but when they do, they jump on it, is the power bank system.
Yes.
I don't know if you've come across that yourself.
I've heard of it and have you used it?
It's basically just a series of very thin metal sheets. So that is just one sheet of the power base strip. I don't know if you can get that. The idea is that that would be laid underneath the sleepers.
Right.
And then on the bottom of your locomotives, there's magnets that come in the pack. So you put the magnets on the bottom of the locomotive, and now all of a sudden your locomotive can pull proper scale length trains. It can go up gradients.
So you wouldn't need this everywhere necessarily, but if you've got like a steep grade, having this under the track with the magnets, it gives that extra level of adhesion that allows it to get up the hill.
But on flat layouts, it still increases pickup, for example.
Yeah, definitely.
And because your pickup is increased, you get less need for track cleaning.
Yeah, because it's not arcing ever so slightly.
Yeah. So there's other benefits as well as adhesion. But the main use of this is on gradients for adhesion.
Yeah.
One thing you do need to remember though is you need to lay it for the length of your longest train after your gradient, as well as on the gradient itself.
Yes. Otherwise the locomotive reaches the top and that's where it starts slipping.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Because I know it's one of the things that certainly like smaller locomotives suffer greatly, and there's nowhere in the locomotive to put additional weight. And of course you don't need to do that if you
do add weight, what you're doing is adding vertical downforce to that locomotive. It tends to try and drag it back down the hill.
Yes.
By adding magnetic force onto the bottom, you're pulling it onto the track. It's a different sort of adhesion.
Yeah.
You're not just trying to add weight. What you're doing is increasing adhesion.
You basically haven't got the dead weight in the locomotive that is pulling it back.
That is right on the edge of its grip. I can just touch that.
Yeah, and it's struggling for adhesion.
You can see. Yep. So can you see it slipping?
Yeah. So it's really struggling with that. And I think we've all been there with a gradient on the layout, and there'll be certain locos you really just couldn't run a full train behind it.
Yeah.
And as soon as it gets
to where the power base is, see the change in behaviour?
Yeah. And it's not actually skidding anymore, it's just like holding itself.
Yeah. So that gives quite a clear...
Yeah. And of course, once you've ballasted over the top of that, you'd never know that it was there.
Not at all, no. Not at all. And we can do that again and do exactly the same. So you see it's really struggling there. It's right on the edge of its ability to go forward, isn't it?
And I can see it's skidding, it's sort of juddering. And then, like you say, as soon as it hits the actual base, away it goes. Like all of a sudden, it's like it's not on a gradient anymore. I'm just going to check the weight. Yeah, I mean it's just a standard Bachmann Ginty there. But then if I put this, oh gosh, I can feel that. It just sort of that is actually. I can feel it. You get to there and it suddenly bang. It pulls it to the track. That is an amazing difference, and you couldn't actually with if you were trying to put something like liquid ballast in there, you physically couldn't put enough into this to make that equivalent adhesion weight. I mean, it's like it's glued to the...
But if you turn that over, you'll see the only modification done to that locomotive is to put those two small magnets on the bottom there.
So what are these? Are these
same, just magnets, exactly the same. Just magnets along there.
So there's 4 magnets.
Correct.
Yeah. And they don't cause any issues on point work or anything like that.
You've just got to be careful not to foul the railhead with magnets. We do magnets in different sizes for different locomotives.
Right.
So that's a standard size magnet here. But we do extra large magnets like this. We also do extra small magnets, and we do this for N as well as in double O. That gives you an idea of the sizes of magnets that we've got.
Right.
And you can see even on the smallest locomotive, you can.
So it doesn't matter what size loco you've got. There's lots of different sizes, and you can use multiple ones as well. So you could use these to make best use of the space available underneath to maximise that adhesion.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's actually more important in some ways.
I can imagine.
Because of pickup issues and derailments on points, it helps that massively.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually feeling that, and I almost feel like you could turn that upside down and the locomotive would stay put on the track.
Well, your little pug that you've got, if we put a couple of those neo-magnets on, it would actually... it would probably stick upside down.
You'd have to have a very careful choice of locomotive.
Yes, you would.
And it would probably be as well to remove the lead that's in the boiler as well to make it as light as possible, because effectively all you want is the magnet to hold it to the track. That would be an interesting, it'd be a very eye-catching layout. It could do the loop. When we did Great Model Railway Challenge, that's exactly the kind of weird thing that they really love people doing. Doing stuff that you would just never do with an actual model layout. But what we found was it attracted the imagination of people who weren't necessarily modelers. So once we filmed that series, there was a lot of people turning up, like families turning up at model railway exhibitions. Retailers were saying they were getting people coming and saying, I love the look of this hobby, I want to get into this. And actually, by showing people these, pushing the envelope of what you could do with the model, it fired up people's imaginations.
It's, I think, one of the amazing things about this hobby is that whenever we produce a product and we say this is how this product can be used in your layout, we get another 100 different ways that product ends up being used.
Yes.
Because people change it, they modify it, they adapt it.
That's
it's really interesting to see how people use stuff.
Yeah, because they come up with an idea that you think, I would have never thought of that, but actually it works really well.
One guy reportedly put the power base down, and then he had one of the little zoo sets that has a giraffe sticking out of the top of a wagon.
Oh, the giraffe car, yeah.
He put a neo-magnet on the bottom jaw of the giraffe and put some power base as it approached the bridge, so the giraffe's head bent down as it went underneath the bridge. But
that's it.
You can have a bit of fun.
But that's it. I mean, you've got to remember, when you're young, it's that kind of play values that makes this a great hobby. I think I certainly started out laying it out on the carpet and doing silly things like that. And actually, by enjoying doing things like that when you're young, it means you're more likely to keep on with the hobby. And then, then you graduate on to the amazing layouts like you've got there with Ribblehead Viaduct. But, everybody starts out with the fun stuff somewhere. Yeah. And what I think is great when you come to a shop like this and browse, there's products that you would have never thought in a million years about having or using. Then you see it and you think, how did I ever manage without that? Some really great ideas here for improving models, for doing things on your model layout that you might even have thought, I can't do that. And yet here are the products to do all of that. This shop is well worth a visit. So these are a set of buffer stops, ready built, but they've got light up lamps. And the thing I like about this is they come with this resistor board.
And that's got various different resistors on that board, so you can choose how bright you want your red light to be.
So the resistors are already there, and it's just simply a case of pick your hole for whether you want it to look like an oil lamp or an LED light or a tungsten filament bulb.
And they come out of the box like that in 00 scale, but if you're EM or P4, for example, then not to worry, we do exactly the same in kit form, so you can actually
so you can basically set the width to whatever you want.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some really lovely bits and pieces. So these are for working lamps for Pullman and all restaurant coaches, and they've got the table, all the place settings. So you can, with a very fine brush, paint up all the crockery. But the thing I really like about this, because the layout of some of the coaches is 2+1, if you look on the underside, there's a score line. So you can cut off the extra place settings. So each of these can either be the 2 wide or 1 wide. And the actual throw from the lampshade as well gives you that prototypical pattern of light from the lights. And these come with all of the resistors needed and everything for converting an ordinary coach to have the light up lamps.
And
this
is
like
why
the more you look,
get people to come up here and see, because it's all very well and good just pointing people towards the website, but actually the website is just a catalogue. It just shows what we've got, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't find it.
And that's it. Of course, obviously, browsing is the key. Because I will say that when you walk into a shop, they go, "Can we help you? Are you looking for something?" And I always say to them, it's like, I'll know when I find it. It's like, I just want to have a look and be inspired. And when you're here, it's like I'm looking at things like these working guards lamps for the brake fans. And I love this. And they don't even need a DCC decoder in there. You can just wire them up so they run off the track voltage with the appropriate resistor. And if you add a little switch, you can have it so when the brake van's just parked on a siding, you can just turn those lights off. And I just think that things like these are a really great idea.
So what are these? Nano LEDs.
Oh wow, so are they almost like a surface mount type
They
LED?
And if you can see in there, the LEDs are... I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera. Can you see the LEDs there?
So you could use something like that, say if you had, say a Class 150 and you wanted to add the little lights that come on when the doors open.
Yes.
Which obviously you don't want them sticking out really far. You could use something like that to enhance something like a Batman Class 150.
When we do these in railway colours, so all of our LEDs, the entire LED range is Pantone matched to railway colours.
Right.
So when we say it's green, we mean signal green. We've Pantone. When it's red, it's signal red.
Yeah.
The whites are available in either prototype white or in sunny white. The prototype white is more like an oil lamp or a dim incandescent bulb.
Yeah.
Whereas the sunny white is more like a modern LED light. It's more white, more bright.
I'm with you.
So we try and have proper railway colours.
So these are rolling road. You put these on the track and you can just test run a locomotive on them. And they're really free running because they've got a ball bearing in there. So if you're wanting to test a loco without having to chase it around the track. So I've got a piece of track here. And then what you do, so you just place them on the track, and then that's live to track voltage, and you put the loco wheels on there, and it'll just run on the spot. And the blue insert in there is, you can swap that out, so if you want to have them for EM, P4, or even O gauge, N gauge, it's just a different spacer in there. And they come in packs of 2, 4, 6, 8, and 12.
This is it's called the Mega Set, and it's 8 different sizes of screw in both pan, head and countersunk format. So virtually any screw can be replaced on your rolling stock if it falls onto the floor and never to be seen again.
And then you've got a full set of drill bits as well to match the sizes. So if you want to drill pilot holes, then there you are, which is presumably great. If you've got a screw that, say, stripped the thread,
yes,
you can go up to the next size up, but rather than forcing it in and splitting the plastic, you can clean out the hole and get a good fit each time, which is perfect. Because the one that always gets me is it's one of two things when you take a loco apart. You either put it back together and there's one screw missing, or you put it back together and you've got a spare screw that you can't for the life of you think where it came from.
But then we know there are 2 entrances to the other dimension.
Yeah.
One entrance is your washing machine because that's where your socks go.
Yeah.
And the other one is between your workbench and the carpet.
Yeah.
Because things fall off the workbench and they never appear where they should be.
Yeah.
So,
and you sit there and you think, I haven't moved. It can't have gone far.
It's gone.
You just, it's gone. And the only time you will ever find it is if you're barefoot and the screws point side up.
And then it will be in a completely different room to where it was.
Yes. Oh my word, they look like they mean business.
Have you used one of those before?
No, it reminds me of bolt clippers.
Once you use one of those, you won't go back. I'm going to get you a piece of wire.
That is a very chunky piece of kit. And that's the thing with these things. When you feel the weight, it feels like a product where they haven't scrimped at all. This means business.
This is just standard 1.5mm bus wire. Okay. So first thing you're going to do, are you left or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Right, so take those in your right hand. First of all, we're going to do an end tail as if we're going to solder this wire to something.
Yeah.
So all we do is push that in there up to the blue stop.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you pull the handle sharply together there.
Right. And you don't need to preset this, it will just...
No, it's an automatic one, so it will automatically set itself to whichever.
And that's just perfect, neat and clean each time.
But then you've got a thing where you've got your bus wire like this, and you need to add a dropper, and it's going to be halfway along that piece of bus wire.
Yeah.
Now the challenge there, most people use wire cutters or track cutters and cutting away at the insulation.
And it's laborious.
So if you just get rid of that little bit of insulation that's on the blade there, just tap that out. Yeah, there we go. Right, so this blue guide that we used as an end stop, we're now going to move out of the way completely. Okay, so we'll move that out of the way now. So now we're going to come in the middle of the wire, like that, and then you're going to do exactly the same.
Oh, wow. And there's perfect point to
And what do you
solder.
notice? There's no insulation loss.
So it's just
hasn't-
sort of squashed it up.
It's just compressed it on each side. Now, that means you can solder to that area, and then over time it will shrink back.
So it will protect that join. See, that for me is the unique selling point. That's what sells the product to me, because the number of times you thought, oh, I just need to add a drop of wire there, and you'll be in the middle of a long length of wire. And normally what I end up doing is, after a lot of swearing, I just clip the wire and add a chop block. But of course,
You've got a failure point.
Exactly, because that's where you get just one wire decides, yeah, I'm going to part.
You'll also find that by stripping the wire using standard wire strippers, you've probably lost half the strands as well.
Exactly,
So
especially with the thin wires.
You've now decreased the current handling capacity of your wire. You've added a failure point. You've added a resistance point. So actually, if you use the right tool for the job, then you're not losing any strands of wire. You're not creating a failure point or a resistance point. So
that is a lovely tool.
It's got wire cutters there as well.
So that's you can
So if you put the wire into there, just put that.
So if we put that in there
and put it up to the blade there,
up to that,
that's it. And then
so
cut.
just. Oops, I think we've just got it.
There you go. So it will cut as well.
Right. So it's the one-stop tool for everything that you need it to do.
Yeah.
I like that.
If there's one tool that's going to save hours on the layout, it's that one.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great day, and really big thanks to Richard Brighton and all the team at DCCconcepts. Thank you very much, and thanks for showing me some of these great products and kind of opening my eyes to the sort of things you can do with models. So hopefully I'll be back. I want to see the Ribble head fired up model complete, so that I'm really looking forward to. But it's been a great day. Thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see you again.
See you soon.
So it's been really great to get a tour of DCCconcepts. If you like this video, don't forget to share, like and subscribe too if you haven't already done so. And check out DCCconcepts. We'll put a link to their website in the description box down below. But I hope you enjoyed this little trip up here to settle in the very picturesque North Yorkshire Dales. And until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take really good care of yourself. Thanks for your company. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, but a special thanks go out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, and Helen Sink. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.